Bernie Sanders and AOC are coming to Montana to lecture us on the current policies of the Democrat Party. Let's not forget what those policies are. Rampant illegal immigration, wide open border, importing millions of criminal, violent, illegal aliens on your taxpayer dime. And then when we try to expel those criminals, the Democrats have a self-proclaimed resistance movement to stop that process. They had nothing to say about the constitutionality of your tax dollars flying in violent criminals, but now they apparently say it's unconstitutional to kick them out. That's the base of the Democrat Party. Anarchy, violence, crime in the streets. They put the interests of criminals above those of our citizens. Let's not forget the summer of love in 2020, when our cities were being burned to the ground by Antifa and BLM, the Democrats supported them. The Democrats fundraised for them to give them money to burn your cities down. We ran on a platform of common sense on November 5th. Montanans were loud and clear. Common sense. They want safe streets, secure border, cheap gas. That's what we delivered. That's our platform. Let's get to work.
We saw Marjorie Taylor Greene buy that dip. Question for her: how much did you make? How much did you make off of people's despair? How much did you make off that panic? How much did you make off of that suffering? No more. We can't accept it.
Put that picture back up. That is Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez speaking to a packed arena outside of Boise, Idaho last night, forcefully calling out her colleague Marjorie Taylor Greene for some curiously timed stock trades. Look at that crowd. Wow.
Boy, 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 boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the Democrat Party infighting, okay? Because the Democrats are currently in free fall. Their approval rating is at 21% and is probably in the single digits at this point, right? I mean, there are not many things I can think of that are more unpopular than the Democrat Party at this point in time, okay? They are extremely unpopular, and they're currently infighting over the future of the party, okay? It is the establishment Democrats who are far left, okay? Let's be clear, honest. The establishment Democrats are far left, okay? Versus the super far left, right? The AOC Bernie Sanders wing of the party, okay? The AOC Bernie Sanders wing of the party, they are currently trying to stage a coup against Democrat leadership. They're trying to take over the party because they feel as if they have the best chance of reviving the party going into the future. Now, the problem is that AOC and Bernie Sanders, they are never going to win a national election, okay? Because they're not going to get men to vote for them, right? It's just not going to happen. And progressivism, by the same people in this country, is becoming extremely disliked, right? People, when they experience progressivism, like, for example, in cities like Chicago, it's a disaster, right? Or LA, or Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, DC, New York, Boston. I go on and on and on and on and on, right? All of these cities, run by Democrats, overwhelmingly progressive, disasters, right? Absolute disasters. So people are running away from progressivism, right? They're running away from California, which is what the socialist Democrats want to turn this country into. The country has rejected this. Okay, they rejected it in the 2024 election with President Trump's dominant victory over Kamala Harris. And I would consider Kamala Harris to be closer to AOC and Bernie than the establishment Democrats right now. Some say she's an establishment Democrat. Maybe she is, maybe she's not, but she's definitely far left, right? She's very, very, very far left. She's a senator from California. Like, come on, right? I mean, she's from California. She's extremely far left. She's extremely woke. And who knows? Her, AOC, they seem to be the front runners right now for what the Democrats are going to be running with come 2028, okay? And AOC seems to be taking some notes from Kamala Harris with her fake accents that she decides to roll out depending on who she's talking to. Apparently, AOC decided to roll out her white accent at her latest freak show rally.
Donald Trump is a criminal who was found guilty of 34 felony counts of fraud, liable for sexual abuse. Of course he's lying and abusing and manipulating the stock market too. When he talks about rapists and criminals, he should look in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. That's going to play well with the lunatics and the freaks, okay? Not the same people, but the lunatics and the freaks in the Democrat Party and the far left wing of the Democrat Party, yeah, they're going to love that, okay? They are going to absolutely eat that up, okay? So who knows? They say AOC is destroying Chuck Schumer in the New York Senate polls. We don't know if Chuck Schumer is going to run again, but it seems like AOC is the favorite to beat him. She may just go straight for the presidency. And I'm saying this because if she goes straight for the presidency and she actually wins the Democrat primary, then there's no way, absolutely no way she will win a general election. It would be basically a guaranteed victory for Republicans.
More Joe Biden, more AOC, more Bernie Sanders. Keep it up, Democrats. Make it easier for Republicans to win. The reason Democrats have an anemic 37% approval rating is that trifecta of mastery right there. AOC, Bernie Sanders, two avowed socialists, and Joe Biden, one of the oldest president in American history. And what happened? Independents and Republicans stood together and resoundingly rejected all of that. They voted and they kicked them out of office. So if Democrats want to continue to use this playbook, they are going to turn the tide of history, because going into midterms, historically, that would not benefit the Republican Party. But if Democrats want to choose the extreme left and the oldest voices in their party as the leading voices, because those are the only three out there right now leading the charge, you will make it historical for Republicans to win in November 2026. So I'm all for it. Go for it.
So, that is a problem that Democrats understand that they have when it comes to the far left wing of their party, right? The establishment Democrats, the old guard, understands that this civil war between this party is not going to end with them getting along, because you have to agree with the left 99%, or else they basically see you as the enemy, right? I mean, they are going after Bill Maher hard right now, okay? They said, Bill Maher, you should not even have dinner with the president. You can't even sit down and have a meal with him. No. That is how radicalized these individuals are. So when you are that radicalized, okay, it is hard to build broad coalitions, right? The progressives are going to box themselves in. And because they're going to box themselves in due to their intolerance, they're not going to be able to ever have any mass appeal. And the old guard Democrats, they know this, which is why James Carville is basically saying that progressive Democrats need to split from the party and they need to go their separate ways. Basically, this marriage, this relationship is not going to work, is what he's saying.
Maybe you got plenty different, the Justice Party, the Working Families Party, the Socialist Party. The only thing I'd ask is just don't use the word Democratic in any title that you have. Because most Democrats that I know that are running for office don't want your name, don't want you to be part of the deal. Yeah, they would be glad to take your votes. Who wouldn't? Everybody wants to get as many votes as they can. Maybe you come up with your own name. And by the way, nothing against, after the election, you can sit down and do like is done in parliamentary governments or governments around the world. You sit down and you say, okay, we want to be part of a governing majority, and we have these things that we want you to do to bring us in, and we have negotiations, and we figure a way that we can live with different parties, different titles, but under the same general philosophical roof. As I've always said, been very clear that most of the things that the faculty lounge or the identity left wants, 85% of them, I want to. We'd like to expand opportunity for people. We'd like to expand people that have health care. We'd like to do more to help young voters. We think that environmental problems are totally crushing that we face. We want solutions there. We think income inequality is a terrible thing, and we got to do certain things to address it. Like, okay, we can raise taxes on incomes over $400,000 a year, raise the minimum wage. These are things that we can work on. I don't think we can work together on pronoun politics. I don't. I think that you're not. This election did not teach you how damaging that is. I don't think there's anything that I can tell you and you say this guy is stuck in another century, not another decade, and he represents nothing to do with the future of our movement, I can accept that. You're not really going to hurt my feelings. So maybe we could have a kind of amicable split here, and we'll go to post in 2026, because you don't ever run, they never run against a Republican. Okay. All they do is run against other Democrats. I don't quite understand why you're so anxious to have the word Democrat in the description of what you do, but maybe we can have a amicable split here. And you go your way, and we go our way, and after the election, we come together and see how much common ground we can find.
Yeah, so I found this clip to be extremely fascinating, okay, for multiple reasons. Because, one, it confirmed my hypothesis about what was eventually going to happen leading up to 2026, the midterms, the Democrat primaries, which is that the party was going to have to figure out how to coexist, right? And it seems like they don't have the ability to coexist, okay? The AOC, Bernie Sanders wing is just not compatible with the establishment wing of the Democrat Party, right? The old guard, so to speak, okay? So they ultimately have to split up, which is what James Carville is saying. They have to split up. Now, why is he saying they have to split up? Well, the reason why they have to split up is because he realizes that progressive politics, progressive social politics more specifically, that turns people off, right? That hurts Democrats. And the people who are far left on social politics aren't willing to compromise on the far left social politics. And because they're not willing to compromise on their far left social politics, that means that if Democrats want to ever become a big tent party again, then they're going to have to have mass appeal, right? And they can't have mass appeal being associated with the freak show. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is essentially the situation that Democrats are in. James Carville knows this. So he knows that, hey, there has to be a complete split, right? Like, you can't make this work any other way outside of, hey, let's split off and let's try to get the same people, right? Like, that's what has to happen. But here's the problem. Here's the issue with that. The issue with that is that even though the establishment Democrats are not as far left and cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs as AOC and Bernie, they're still cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? They're still far left. They're like, the establishment Democrats are far left, right? I mean, they're so far left that they're trying to go and rescue illegal immigrants to deport back to the United States.
I think, as you've seen, and there's been some great leadership from Senator Chris Van Hollen, who apparently indicated earlier today that either his constituent is returned or he plans to go to El Salvador himself. And that's exactly the type of action that, as members of Congress, we can do to highlight the injustice, dramatize and amplify it, and force the administration to comply, which in this instance, I believe we will make sure happens.
Or if by midweek, I mean, this could be tomorrow, nothing happens, you go to El Salvador, do you have a hope of leaving with him when you come back, or what can you accomplish there?
Kate, I hope to meet with officials of the government of El Salvador. I don't know if the president is going to be in country at that time. I also hope to visit this notorious prison to see Abrego Garcia, to let him know that his family and friends are very worried about him, as am I.
He's at risk of death in El Salvador, and he's in prison, right? Like, they deported him to a prison, and the court keeps asking for evidence that he committed. Perhaps he is a member of MS-13, but the government hasn't been able to show that yet, right? Every time the judge has asked for evidence, no one has been able to actually provide it. It's just kind of a lot of, So again, when you take this to its logical conclusion, when the president is now saying, well, homegrown criminals, This idea that you're going to take people and just send them to a prison overseas?
Well, what he said yesterday was, we're looking into the legality of it. He said, we're looking into the laws. Pam Bondi's looking into it. So it was a non-definitive statement. But the point they're making, the political point they're making, is quite clear. If you are a violent person, if you've broken our immigration laws, we're here to keep Americans safe. And our opposition is apparently currently organizing congressional delegations to go to El Salvador to try to bring illegal aliens back to the United States. It's politically crazy.
Scott, he has not been criminally charged.
So?
What about due process? That is a
order.
Constitutional right that anyone in this country has.
If you want to die on this hill, be my guest. It's political malpractice to send Democrat members of Congress to El Salvador to retrieve illegal aliens.
It's his senator from his state. He is from the state of Maryland. He lives in El Salvador.
Just 1 second.
He lives in.
Scott Jennings is right. It would be political malpractice for Democrats to go to El Salvador for a photo shoot with an illegal immigrant. That's not an American. He's a citizen of El Salvador, and Democrats are literally flying across the globe to try to force smaller countries to give their citizens to the United States of America. Again, it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. This is going to be AOC at the border part 2, right? That's what it's going to be. But again, my point is that what James Carville doesn't realize is that he is right about the fact that Democrats cannot have mass appeal with far left loonies like AOC and Bernie, right? That's not a thing that has a mass appeal, right? It's a niche appeal. They pretend like it has a mass appeal. They swear up and down it does. No, it's very niche and they're loud, okay? But hey, they are big enough to be a significant part of the Democrat Party, okay? However, the establishment Democrats, they're also far left, right? They're basically cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs too. Because on issues like this, on immigration, Democrats are basically telling people, we love illegal immigrants. We don't want to enforce the borders, okay? They had an opportunity to close the border. They said, no, we're not going to. They let tens of millions of them into the country. And then Democrats used taxpayer dollars, spent taxpayer dollars mainly in Democrat-run liberal cities and states, taking care of the illegal immigrants in ways that they have never done for American citizens, their own constituents. Trump starts getting rid of the illegal immigrants with the mass deportations, and lo and behold, Democrats go running to other countries to bring the illegals back that we deported. And the Democrats have made it pretty clear in regards to why they love illegal immigrants so much over American citizens.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation. I know that's right.
Yeah. So again, the problem with James Carville and the split that he wants to do from the progressive base is that he is right. If Democrats detached from the progressive left, they would be able to have a broader appeal, okay, with just more normal, sane people who are more right-leaning. But that would have to require the Democrat Party to actually move to the right, okay? Not just cut themselves off from the progressive left. No, they have to actively move to the right, which is something that James Carville has not acknowledged yet, right? You have to understand that the problem with the Democrat Party is that they need to move very much to the right, right? They need to just fire the whole party. Fire the whole party. Because at this point, none of the Democrats right now have any credibility when it comes to being able to present themselves to the American people as the type of Democrat that would be good for this country, right? Because they call that type of Democrat Hitler, right? That's what they do, because basically Trump, MAGA for the most part, and I also think that you could probably apply this to the Republican Party as a whole as well too. Not that much different than the 90s Democrats, okay? Not that much different at this point, okay? A lot of similarities. So I'm just saying that James Carville doesn't understand the fact that his party is going to have to move to the right. Okay, the Democrats, the establishment Democrats, right now they're still a woke party. Okay, and they can distance themselves from the far left. That's great. But as long as you're still woke, as long as you can't give us a straight answer on whether or not biological boys should compete against biological girls in sports, then you don't have credibility, right? You do not have credibility. So that is what people like James Carville need to understand. This is what Democrats who, want to appeal to same people need to understand. But I just don't think it's going to happen, right? I think the Democrat Party is cooked, right? I think they're done. Stick a fork in them. The AOC wing is probably going to take over. They're probably going to win the primary. Some lunatic is going to be the Democrat nominee, and it will basically guarantee that they can't win a general election, right? I think that's what's going to happen. But hey, we'll see. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.